Hey guys, so this is just a quick note, quick thought that I thought, um, and it's about why you shouldn't be afraid of artificial intelligence. And this is coming from someone who has been very afraid of AI, I would say. But the more you get to know AI or to learn AI, I think you start to understand that even though it's great in terms of if it really does what we think it's going to do, which is replace jobs and cure diseases and whatnot, like that's great. But I know at the same time that we are just worried about our jobs and whatnot. So it's not like we are excited about that because we need to survive. So I understand that. However, I want to talk about specifically why we shouldn't be afraid, and this is my take. And I know that there is people who is afraid, but I just want to tell you again, I am or I was someone who was afraid of AI, and I think I just started to understand more about the real limitations of AI. And there is something that I want to talk about, which is as long as there are problems, you are going to be good to go. Um, what I mean by this is if you see a problem anywhere and you want to solve that problem, then you can go and do it. And this is, of course, not saying like cancer or anything like that. Of course, those are like more complicated problems. I'm just referring like if you have a problem, let's say that, I don't know, you want to, and this is just my experience. So let's say that you want to know the average price of homes in your country. And that's actually something I'm currently doing. Um, you can use AI to help you solve that problem. I'm not sure if there's people who will pay for that problem, but what I think is that as long as you can solve problems, you are going to be able to have a job or to start a business. And one of the things we software engineers should learn is that we are not frameworkers, we are not language specific guys. We are in the very root or fundamentals, we are problem solvers and we are good thinkers. That's basically what I would say computer science is about. Um, it happened with, there's this point that people say, well, like we cannot compare AI with a calculator because a calculator was like a simpler thing, and now we have like this monstrosity that knows everything and whatnot. Um, the current AI that exists is a very good token predictor, but it's not necessarily intelligent. It doesn't learn in a human sense. Of course, we're working towards that. There are good advancements in regards of that. Jan LeCun, which is one of the guys from Facebook that worked, I believe this was Facebook or OpenAI. It was Facebook. When they were doing Llama, he basically just thought, hey, LLMs are not necessarily the best way to go about this. So he developed another type of, it's actually non-generative if I'm correct, but basically like another idea on how like AI and let's call it, it's not language models, it's another thing, and forgive me if I'm ignorant about this. Anyway, the thing is that as long as we are able, or as long as we stay curious about how to solve things, solve problems that we have, we will have a better chance of having a job or starting a business or whatnot. Because at the end of the day, problems still exist. There is, like, for example, there is people who, and a big problem to solve is how do you reverse birth rates in countries? How do you create jobs for people in the era of AI? um, how do you cure a disease? There are like these big problems that are still unsolved, but of course you might be watching this and saying, I don't care about that. I just care about my well-being and what I'm going to eat tomorrow. And that's totally fine. Those are different levels. Like you cannot help others if you don't help yourself first. That's totally understandable. Um However, I would say that the way that you can help yourself right now is by it's by upskilling, which it's probably the only way. And by what I mean by upskilling, and I want to be or explore this point a little bit more, um, learning a new framework. I wouldn't say that's necessarily upskilling right now. It was in the past, definitely. Like you could make a lot of money just knowing like a framework. Right now, I'm not sure if that's going to be the future. I think in order to thrive in this new future, since AI is able to produce code very cheap and efficiently, where it's going to make a change is probably how well you know the tool. That's probably going to be the first thing. Because here's the situation. So I have seen a lot of people that have said, "Hey, I have built this with vibe coding and whatnot," and they are really good sites. I was on Reddit today, and I watched a guy who replicated the entire Windows XP user interface in the web without knowing a single line of code, and I think that was impressive. Yeah, you might say, well, that project was around there. They're probably he probably forked it. He probably copied it. Whatever. If if that guy, as he said, vibe coded it and knew nothing about code, well, that's impressive. Yeah, hands down. However, as projects become big or more big or bigger, basically, the amount of context that the LLM in this particular case can handle shrinks or just it doesn't allow. Um, Basically, the AI is not going to work. So in this particular project that I was doing, so basically just scraping the particular um, apartments, housing listings, whatever. He at some point proposed to do something that he told me that it wasn't a good practice. So I think that this is when the context or like sliding window starts to happen. He forgets that he said something and then just suggest it. But anyway, so the main topic again, you shouldn't be afraid because as long as there are still problems that are needed to be solved, you are or you can be that person who goes and solve it. So think about shitty services, and I think this is a good example. In my country, I think, and this is probably one of the things that I need to just write for myself, but competition, I would say, is very low. Um, why do I say that competition is very low business wise? There are probably just a couple of business. Bootstrapping a business is definitely a huge investment here in Venezuela for like the average Venezuelan. But I would say that people who provide a good service and have a good product and are fast, I think that's very, very few people. I don't think there's a lot of people who are fast and have a good product and a good service. So at the end of the day, you just need to find something that you can improve. It doesn't need to be anything new. It's just something that you can do and improve upon rather than, just trying to invent or trying to create something new. Of course, innovation it's fine, but if you just want like to do something that it's proven and you can basically just start to get money right away, then probably you just like do not need to innovate. You just need to copy someone else and do it better. That's it. So, with that being said, let's think about this scenario. So let's think that there are no more coding jobs available and that everything is automated, everything is perfect with just a chat prompt in a browser. Let's assume that's the future and that's like there are no errors, no anything. That's just one part of the entire universe. Of course, there is this, I would say, sunk cost fallacy where we just keep doing something because we are already in that particular field. Um, but again, let's assume that's the scenario, and then we need to transition. Let's assume that's the case. First of all, I would say you more than programming, I think you have gained the ability to think in systems in organized in an organized way. And if you happen to learn more about system design algorithms, I think your thinking is probably different than the average person, which then you can translate to other areas. So for example, let's say that you want to become a marketing media buyer or a social media content creator. You can use that knowledge that you have to organize yourself, or maybe to create tools in areas that you didn't know. And I think this is going to become a trend. So people have more access to coding tools, yes, but I think at the same time as people from, let's say, CS or computers transition into other areas, assuming that's going to happen, what we're going to see is more tools, better services. I think we're going to see more business opportunities where people or talented people are going to be able to just create solutions that didn't exist due to the lack of context. I'm very excited for that, because let's say that this year Cloud um, brings the model 6, 7, and 1, 6, 7. I'm sorry. Let's say Cloud brings the latest model and whatnot, and it's better. It's like amazing and whatnot. Again, not all problems are going to be solved by that. Um, People like cybersecurity will still need to have a job, because you cannot delegate responsibility to a machine. You always need to blame it on someone. So you always need people from like cybersecurity checking systems. I saw a post from a CEO. He was like, well, byte coding was great. I am able to just like test my ideas, but I still need technical help. So he was like, I am able to create an MVP, but I am not able to push to like through a certain point. And he admitted that he needs like technical founders and whatnot, but he basically was talking like, now we like everyone is able to push MVPs, but now like you need very specialized people to continue working on that. So again, even though it's highly likely we might need to reskill into other areas, you already have a good skill, which is the skill of thinking in systems. And this is going to allow you to easily transition into other areas as well. Um, so yeah, basically would say you have a great skill set, you're developing a great skill set, and if we need to change it in the future, or if you want to just protect yourself from the future, then you probably what you just need to do is, at the same time as you're studying your computer science things, you probably just need to also study something else that you can do in case things go wrong. So for example, and it's still not confirmed because I'm waiting on inscription details, but one of the things that I would like to do is just to study mechanical, not engineering, like mechanical automotive parts. Um, it's one of, like, I just want to learn how like engines work and brakes and all of this. Like, I think it's interesting. I never had the chance to work on my car, so I just want to be able to learn those things. uh, Electricians, I think it's one of the line of work, or yeah, the line of work I probably would do if CS doesn't work. um, but it's related to CS in certain ways. um, Anything you're able to just then probably work on electronics and whatnot, like you have the ability to transition easily, and I think that's something that we should value. There are people who probably are not doing CS right now. Let's say graphic design artists. When they saw AI, it was probably groundbreaking, and they were scared, but there's people using AI and then refining it, and then it's still art. Like, just because you used a computer, used aid from a computer to create something, it doesn't subtract the value of it. Like, there are sites that 100% probably are vibe coded, but I don't think that just because they are vibe coded, they are bad. That's, I think that's just scope from people who do not want to accept that AI or LLMs might be good enough now. Even Linux said, Linus Torvalds, I said Linux. Linus Torvalds, he said that we probably should start using LLMs. And if he said it, it's probably, he's one of the, like, more, I don't know, like, he evaluates things very thoroughly. Like, he doesn't necessarily, it's like a hype person. He doesn't have any type of responsibility or shares with OpenAI and these people. So I think it's interesting just hearing that from him. But again, if even if this fails, we still have more options, and there's a lot of things that we can do. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world yet. Of course, there's this thing which, you probably might be thinking, well, but what else can I do that it's related to computer science and whatnot? Well, if you really want to, like, be like in the bleeding edge of technology and things, you might need to learn math and very advanced math. You might need to learn physics. Even, I don't know, I would say those two things. You need to learn these things, and you might need to go into the electrical route, and you need to know how a chip works. I think if you really want to demonstrate your expertise, or if you want to grow as a computer scientist or as a software engineer, you probably should tackle low-level projects such as, I don't know, creating an SNES game, creating an emulator, just creating an operating system. Like, these are very challenging and hard projects, but they are definitely going to give you a more throughout understanding about how a computer works. And if you don't know that, you probably should be doing that. But again, it's not everything is lost. I think media is one of the things that we need to protect our attention and brain from, because media doesn't have the best intentions for you. They just want to monetize your attention and have you buy things. So I don't think that's the way to go about watching things. I'm not saying that you shouldn't read anything that you are uncomfortable reading. I think you should read things that you are especially uncomfortable reading, and then define the logic of the argument. You might learn, or you might discover that everything is just an opportunity to sell you the latest course, the $20 ChatGPT subscription, all of these things. But again, not everything is lost. We just need to develop the ability to be able to subtract and probably just separate the arguments, see the logic through the statements, see the things as they really are, work with reality. And I think we're going to be okay. Of course, we all want to be rich, we want to be famous, whatever. Hopefully, you will have the opportunity to be rich and famous. I don't know. If that happens, that's great. But again, life is more than that, and we will die. So I think it's more about how you lived, rather than, just some fucking JavaScript framework. But anyway, that's the rant for today. I just wanted to explain to you guys my thoughts and probably just provide hope in a world of just a lot of doom and crazy things happening. But anyway, everything will be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. So yeah, guys, hope that you have an amazing day. Talk soon.